McClendon marches down the dugout steps with first base. McCutcheon's throw. The runner breaks to the plate. Here's the throw. Wow. It is out. The Buccos win.
That ball's hit well to left center field. Toward the track. And that ball is gone.
You are listening to the North Shore 9 podcast. Follow them on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Also, make sure to watch NS9 Live every Thursday on Twitch and help support by becoming a patron. Let's go Bucks!
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Starbucks. I am your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, as always, is Jim Rosati. Jim, good morning, man. How you doing?
Good morning. It's a beautiful Wednesday. The Pirates are 2-9. Is that right?
You want to go there?
Oh gosh. Okay. Yeah, it's a good day though. It's a good day.
It is a good day. It is currently in Pittsburgh. Let's actually refresh this weather app here. It's currently in Pittsburgh. Well, maybe not so good. 60 degrees and rain. So, sorry guys, but I don't know where I guess Jim and I are at right now. Currently, it's pretty good. So, no complaints.
It's beautiful where I'm at. Like for some reason, it's been like we caught a little bit of a cold spell. Yeah. And I mean, we were getting like 95 every day. And this past week or so, it's been low 80s and sunny. It's been beautiful. Wow. It's been weird.
Nice. Can't hate on that. Yeah, we had that hurricane really tropical storm when it came by us. It was crazy. I mean, it was literally just like 50 miles off the coast from us, like right over us. And I swear it rained for 30 minutes. Really hard. You know, we had this huge downpour, 30 minutes, then it was sunny. That was it. So I have no complaints over that.
That's about as good as it can get.
Right. I know they're going to hit pretty good up north more, but yeah. So, you know, weather's good. Life is good. Pirates baseball, not so good, but we'll get there. But yeah, I guess, you know, obviously as mentioned, we'll definitely be talking about baseball. We're going to switch things up on this show a little bit. Fantasy wheels out, Jim. We're done with that. You know what? The baseball season's upon us. We're watching Pirates baseball. There's a lot to talk about. Let's get rid of that. Dive into some more about the Pirates here going on. But before we do, let's go ahead and preview this upcoming series against the Tigers. I know we're in the midst of playing the Twins. I'm kind of already forgetting that out of my brain. Let's move forward to the Tigers right now. Maybe a team we can beat, right? Maybe we might add 3 wins to the column, Jim.
Yeah, so we still have to play the Twins a couple more times. But
Do we?
Yeah, we do. Oh. We do, unfortunately. But then we have the Tigers this weekend. So Detroit's 5-5, off to a pretty decent start, mainly because they've just been beating on the Reds. I feel like they played the Reds all 10 games, and like every time I look at a Reds game, they're playing the Tigers, which is just weird. But no, they're 500, so that's not bad for them. I mean, you would have thought they'd be right where we are.
Right.
I haven't paid too much attention to them, but it looks like really the guy who's carrying the team, of all people, DiNardo, ex-Bucco prospect, Jacoby Jones.
How about that?
Jacoby Jones, 3 home runs in 9 games. He's hitting 379, a 236 weighted runs created plus. Jacoby Jones just mashing right now.
Not Miguel Cabrera. The next coming of Miguel Cabrera, Jacoby Jones.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Miguel Cabrera's actually been he's been struggling a little bit. So him and Jordy Mercer are down here at the bottom of the list.
Right, and that's what I was going to get to as well. Not that he's, producing or anything, but also former Bucco first baseman, Jordy Mercer. All he does, Jim, is get better defensively. That's all I've heard. All he does is just get better. He's a good defender. I'm not going to go there. Anyways, yes, Jordy Mercer as well. Only 9 plate appearances, batting .222. But, yeah, we'll see a couple former Buccos on this team, so that's kind of cool, I guess. But I'll say, this team doesn't have a bunch of stars, right? And if there is one that you recognize, it's Miguel Cabrera, which I love. Guy's an amazing talent. It's kind of sad to see how his career is ending, but that's just kind of, I guess, how it goes in baseball. But yeah, like you see the guys that are leading this team. Who are these people, Jim? Like, who are the Tigers? I don't recognize anybody. There's no star power. You know, this is like the Pirates AL Central team.
Yeah, and it's weird because like they're not even really that young. I mean, their pitching staff is, so like they've got quite a few younger pitchers, but like their batters are mostly all veterans that have just been cast-offs from other teams. They're not good. Like you said, Miguel Cabrera is towards the end of his career. He's kind of in that same Albert Pujols territory where, and yeah, it is weird because like you're used to seeing Cabrera, Pujols, like Triple Crown contenders annually for the last 2 decades. And now they're just, half of what they used to be. So it's one of those things where, appreciate him the last few years that he's playing. He's 37. Probably doesn't have too much left in the tank there, but future Hall of Famer. Watch of him what you can. So.
That's right. Much respect to you, Mickey. But yeah, it's like, we've talked about this a little bit, and this is one of those situations where we're just a mess. The Tigers, they were spending money and they were signing people, but it was just not too great contracts, older guys like you mentioned, and it's like this rebuild is going to take forever for them, it seems, because of all these contracts. I mean, Miguel's going to be on that team for 2 more years, I think. Is his contract?
Yeah, so they still have him for. I just had it pulled up here. Miguel Cabrera is signed through 2023. Okay. They still have him for 3 more years after this.
Jeez.
So they got him 38, 39, 40. So they'll have him for another 3 more years, paying him $30 million a year.
Right.
Yeah, so that'll be a little bit of a damper. They do have some solid prospects coming up, especially on the pitching side of things. Like Manning and Mize are both legit. I was really hoping to see those 2 this year. It doesn't look like they've brought them up yet, but I think they'll be up eventually. I think this year to kind of get a glimpse of them. But they've done a good job rebuilding. They've had a ton of high draft picks, which is what it takes. If you can put together 4 straight years of top 5 draft picks, you're going to acquire some talent, and they've been able to do that. It just hasn't hit yet.
Yeah, and that's very true. And actually, about the Casey Mize thing, from what I saw too, he was getting called up for the game against the Cardinals, but of course the Cardinals weren't able to play. So I wonder if he's going to make his debut anytime soon, or if he's going to pitch with the, against the Pirates also. So I don't know. We might see Casey Mize.
That's true. So that could be exciting. Casey Mize Major League debut.
There you go.
That's what to look forward to.
Right. See, like I said, it's the Pirates AL Central team right there. That's what we're looking for is Casey Mize. The same way we're looking forward to, like a Mitch Keller start. Like that's it. You just want to see that start.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
All right. Well, why don't we go and talk what we got to do? We got to go and get our Ball Block 3 keys by Jim and DiNardo. So, and where's it at? Here it is.
And I knew exactly what to do, but in a much more real sense, I had no idea what to do.
So, Jim, what are the Ball Block's keys to success by Jim and DiNardo?
Key number 1, Josh Bell. Like, he's been terrible. He's actually been statistically, according to WAR, the 2nd worst player on this team behind Jarrod Dyson.
And that's a feat.
and that's something like the pitching really has gotten the job done so far. As much as we just rail this pitching staff sometimes because they seem totally inept, especially in the middle part of the bullpen.
Right.
They've done a good job. Like they've done it. They're average. They've been what we thought they were going to be. They've actually maybe even been a little bit better than we thought they were going to be. The starters have have been effective. They haven't really gone too deep into ball games, but that kind of seems to be the case league wide. They seem to be really taking care of their pitchers. We're seeing a lot of injuries, so you're seeing a lot of people getting pulled early. But the pitching staff's been fine. But Josh Bell is somebody that this team needs, and they rely on for power. And he just has not provided it yet this year whatsoever. He's not getting on base. He has a 2.6% walk rate this year. 2.6% walk rate. So he's not getting on base. He's not driving in runs. He's really not doing anything. So that's my first key. He has to get going.
I like that. And again, like you can't disagree. He's been awful. I mean, a 33 weighted run created plus, Jim. This is the guy. I mean, what if we turn back time a year ago? Albeit, of course, different circumstances. But like when he hit 38 plate appearances last year, was he at like maybe a 400 weighted runs created plus at that time?
Probably. You know? Yeah. I mean,
think about the start he had last year, and now he's sitting at a 33. I mean, he looks completely lost at the plate. Now, is it timing? I have a feeling. I mean, that seems to be a lot of hitters. You know, they're slumping right now, if you want to call it a slump. It seems like they're behind. You know, timing just isn't there. Christian Yelich started 2 or 1 for 25 on the season. We witnessed it. So, you know, maybe Josh Bell just fall in that category with a lot of other players. The timing just isn't there. Hopefully it comes around. Hey, you just mentioned it. Now, of course, if it's Casey Mize, maybe not so much. But maybe the Tigers pitching could be a cure, Jim. You know, they might be able to find it in the Tigers series, and that's what gets this offense started. So I'm going to actually go another step, which it's sad because it feels like we're talking about the same thing week in and week out right now at this point in the short season. But it starts with the top of the order once again. I mean, it's just been dismal. Every single game, it just seems like it's our 6, maybe 5, 6, 7 hitter that has to carry this team. And you're not going to win ball clubs if you're relying solely on 5, 6, 7. Because 8 and 9 is just pathetic, right? And then 1, 2, 3 should get going, but they just seem not to. I mean, your Adam Frazier's, your Kevin Newman started a hit maybe here and there, so maybe he's coming alive. But, I mean, Brian Reynolds still looks lost. You know, like I said, Adam Frazier's lost. You have to set the table at the top of the lineup. And, you know, if that's all you're relying on is Colm Rand, basically, and Phillip Evans, you're damn right you're 2 and 9. So, you know, this top of the lineup for me is another key to success.
No, you're right. Newman has been just as bad as Bell, if not worse. Reynolds has been bad. Reynolds may be coming along. I mean, I know it's a really small sample size, but he's batting 300 in August, so that's good to see.
In August.
In August. It is August 5th, so we're a few days in. He's batting 300, so hey, that's fine. That's
the
better
straws
than his,
we're grasping on, Jim.
That's better than his 83 he hit in July.
There you go.
So, and he had a good swing yesterday. Yeah, so hopefully he's coming along because they need him to. And then, like you mentioned, Frazier. Really, it's those 4: Frazier, Newman, Reynolds, Bell have to produce. They don't even need to produce, you know, what they did last year. They just need to be close to that. You know, Bell obviously is a key. Newman doesn't have to hit 310, right? I mean, right. He just has to be able to hit and get on base a little bit. Reynolds, same thing. Doesn't have to hit 310, but, you know, show some pop, put together some good at-bats. Frazier's the guy where, you know, you probably want him, you know, up there around 280, 290 and getting on base. But they're just, none of those guys are getting the job done right now. So that's a good key. That top of the lineup just needs to be better. Because it feels like right now, every game, if we are doing anything, we're scoring 1-2 runs. And it's all Moran, Evans, Eric Gonzalez. Like, it's just like random people who are getting a random single with somebody on base. And that's our one run for the game.
All right. You're right. And, of course, it's coming in the 8th inning. That's it.
Yep. So I guess I'll go next key. Next key of the game is Derek Shelton. Derek Shelton has to pull some better strings. It feels like I don't know what he's doing with his bullpen management. He's just, and I get it. I get that it's got to be tough because, like we've said before, at some point the guys just need to get the job done. But when you're in a huge situation and it's we got a high leverage situation going on, you can't bring Miguel Del Pozo into the game. Like you can't do it, right? And he's doing these things where he's bringing in like the worst pitchers I've ever seen in my entire life into face people in high leverage situations when there are competent arms out there. Like I like what I've seen out of Sam Howard, like whoever this guy is. Like he's looked good his first 2 games. So, put these guys in there who have shown that they're, I'm looking at our bullpen and there's been, we've got some guys in there who are actually, I look at their numbers and they're good. So give those guys who have shown that they can get people out, put those guys into the game when you need an out, and not like the worst pitcher like ever. Like Miguel Del Pozo. I don't know if you have the StatCast thing that I shared the other day.
Oh yes.
Miguel Del Pozo's StatCast page is literally, it's the saddest thing. It's the saddest thing I've ever seen. And I'm not trying to pick on the guy, like I know he's trying, but oh my gosh, DiNardo. It's sad. Like I looked at it and I almost wept. Right. I felt bad for him.
Yeah, no, my favorite take on that was when you showed it, right? And it was all like the percentiles, what percentile he's in for exit velocity all this year. Like I've never seen so many ones on a page before.
Oh my gosh.
But
I was just like,
you're right.
This guy,
why is he coming in so often in like all these high leverage situations? Why is he the first one off?
And it's like, how do you feel if you're Robbie Erlin, knowing you got designated for assignment as a left-handed reliever, but this guy still has a job?
And that's the thing too. It's not like Robbie Erlin was anything like great either. Right. It's not like I look at the Robbie Erlin being DFA'd and say, "Oh my God, how that happened." You look at it and say, "Well, that makes sense." But then you see the other guys on the team. You're like, "Well, wait a minute, what's going on here? How's this guy still on the team?" So I don't know. Maybe there's something they saw in summer camp, and they're trying to bring it out of Del Pozo. I'm just trying to be positive. I'm trying to make sense of this, Jim. That's all. Because I'm absolutely with you. He hasn't shown much except that he can walk a lot of guys. But hey, it's the 2020 Pirates. They're 2-9. Speaks a lot. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I don't know. There's definitely some keys to success against the Tigers. Hopefully we can squeak some wins out of them, Jim. It would be nice. Like you said, 2 more against the Twins. I don't foresee it, but the first game was close. Hey, Brubaker's making his start, so he looked good. He's going to slide into the rotation for people wanting to know with the injury to Keller, and I'm interested in that. I would really like to say, hey, I was interested in him this year. He was my sleeper. He's looked fantastic in the bullpen. He'll be in the starting rotation now, so let's see how that goes. But yeah, well, I don't know. Let's get into some actual real Pirates talk, and we're gonna bring a new segment. I don't know what we're gonna call it yet, but we have a little rant. Jim, I know you have a rant you want to go on. Are you ready for this?
I think I'm ready. Yeah.
All right.
Let's see if we can do it.
I'm gonna give you 90 seconds. All right. If you can't fill it. I have a feeling you need this timer at 90 though. So
okay,
let's go.
All right. So there's been a lot of talk about tanking, and I'm all for using tanking as an organizational strategy to get better in the long haul. It's proven to work. Teams have done it, and they've been successful with it, and I'm cool with that. Here's the thing, though. Tanking is something that an organization does. Tanking isn't something that a manager or the players do, right? No player is out there actively trying to lose a game. a manager is not out there actively trying to lose a game. And if a manager is out there actively trying to lose a game, then that's going to piss off a whole lot of players, players who you can potentially maybe get to you in the future, and the players that are on the team right now. Nobody wants to play for a manager who's actively not trying to win a game. So I'm not buying these things that Derek Shelton's making these moves and putting these people in positions to not succeed because he's tanking. If he is, then we have a problem as well, because that shouldn't be the case. But Derek Shelton needs to do a better job managing. He's not shown anything when it comes to, his in-game decisions, especially the bullpen management, or just really from a situational standpoint. You look at these last 2 games that we've had, not yesterday, but the 2 games before. It's like Derek Shelton, intentional walks exist so that we can get somebody on first base to set up a double play to make this easier on our relievers. I know that's weird situations right now, but you've got to do things that put your players in the best position to succeed. And he didn't do that with Cody Ponce. He didn't do that with Nick Burdi. And people are saying it's tanking. No, that's not tanking. That's just bad managerial decisions, and that was proven by his post-game quotes. So, like I said, Cody Ponce isn't out there tanking. Nick Burdi isn't out there tanking. It was Cody Ponce's major league debut. Best moment of his life, right? He's trying to win. He's trying to compete. Nick Burdi playing against the team that drafted him. He's trying to compete. He's trying to win. Players aren't tanking. The manager needs to do what is going to put the players in the best position to succeed.
Hot mic, Jim. Hot mic.
Did I go over? I wasn't looking at the.
You did. I couldn't stop you. I couldn't stop you. I felt the passion. I know you're a little pissed off right now about Shelton. We'll definitely go further into that as well and talk here. I think we both got some things to get off our chest a little further. But I'll tell you what. I have a little bit of a rant myself. I don't know if I'll fill the whole minute 30, but Jim, there's been a player that the North Shore 9 has some I love, and it's kind of taken off into its own little thing, and that's Adam Frazier. All right. We've believed in him. Way back, we thought, he should be playing second base. Josh Harrison should be the utility guy. There was some back and forth, Harrison Frazier, and ultimately Frazier is here, although Josh Harrison hit a home run for Washington last night. But, Frazier's been that dude for us. I'm really pissed off about Adam Frazier this year. And it's not just the hitting. I mean, the dude can hit, right? Well, not this year. The dude's batting 167, right? 45 weighted runs created plus. Now, listen, as I just mentioned, I have a feeling the hitters are behind. I'm not even going after Adam Frazier because he's not hitting, although he sucks and he hits everything right to the second baseman and gets an out. But the dude is not in the game. How many 2-plans has he had out there, right? Gets picked off at first base. The guy, Brian Reynolds, makes, a solid play at in left field. I forget who was the one that was hitting. Guy tries to stretch out to a double. Throws right into Frazier. Frazier's down on second base. Easy tag. Heading on in the game. Lackadaisical tag. Guy's safe. Could have been an easy out. Jim, that could have been the first out. Oh, it was Wilson Contreras, because he should have been tagged out 2 times that inning. It was Wilson Contreras. Should have tagged him out. That run could have never scored. There's a possibility the Cubs could have lost that game against the Pirates. Thank you, Adam Frazier. Not to you. Adam Frazier's really pissing me off this year because not only is he not hitting, but he looks terrible in the field and on the bases. What are you doing? Get your ass in the game, which also could be on Shelton. So, Jim, maybe we should talk a little more about Shelton.
I mean, do you want to talk more about Shelton?
I think we do.
Right.
Because, again, my rant with Frazier,
yeah.
Maybe there's a little bit on Shelton, too. What's going on?
Yeah. So here's the thing with Shelton. He seems like a great guy. He seems like a really good guy. The players like him, right? But I've played baseball on pretty competitive teams, and I've played sports, and I know you have too, that, there comes a time, players are pretty in key with what's going on. They know what's going on. They have opinions on stuff too. And when they're not put in the best position to succeed as a team or as an individual, they start talking, they start, it messes with morale, like 100%. Like it changes a clubhouse and it changes a team. And, I know we're only 11 games into Derek Shelton's major league career as a manager, right? So he's learning all of this too. But he just needs to do better. His quotes don't make sense, right? Somebody asked him, and I appreciate people asking him these questions because I know it's probably pretty hard on the media right now because they can't actually be around anybody. So, his quotes about not walking Baez, with Cody Ponce in there. So he mentioned he didn't want to put Ponce in a tough spot where he needed to execute pitches. Well, he's already in a tough spot where he's got to execute pitches. Why don't we just make it a little bit, help him out a little bit and give him just another way that he can execute, right? Like if somebody hits a ground ball to shortstop with a runner on first, then he's out of the inning.
Right.
Whereas if you don't put him in that position, then that can never happen, right? But either way, whatever position that he's in, he still has to execute his pitches. Like, it's still a tough spot. He was in a tough spot.
And I don't want to really cut you off, but I want to say something here that kind of fits that. This guy is a 50% ground ball pitcher. Like, inducing the ground ball is what he kind of does. So you're kind of playing into his repertoire here.
Yeah, and his quote just didn't make sense. His logic behind it didn't make sense. Like, I could actually accept it if he was like, you know what, we kept him in there because Baez is a free swinger and he strikes out a lot, and we're just looking for the K. If he would have said that, I would have been like, okay, I can at least accept that logic. I don't know if you're right, but I can accept that logic. But his logic on his quote didn't make sense. He's like, I didn't want to put him in a tough position where he had to execute pitches in his major league debut. Well, then what's he doing out there?
Right. Then why'd you put him in now?
It's extra innings in a tie ball game, and where a runner is going to start in scoring position. He's already in a tough spot where he's got to execute pitches.
Right.
That doesn't change whether there's a runner on first or not. Same thing with Birdie. I didn't want to put him in a tougher spot where he had to execute pitches. And then he goes on to say, we just didn't execute the pitch, when it comes to Cruz hitting the fly ball to end the game.
Right.
It's like the logic doesn't make sense. Like I said, if he would have said something else, I could have been like, okay, that makes sense. At least a little bit. I can accept it. Mm-hmm. But his thinking behind his decisions isn't making sense, which that's kind of the more concerning thing. And like I said, I get that this team is not making the playoffs this year. That's pretty apparent now watching them after the first 2 weeks. And I'm all for not really trying. I'm all for not going out there and, signing the best free agents that are available to try to pick up extra wins and maybe get to 500 at this point. I'm cool with that, right? But what I'm not cool with is just, when the game is on and it's being played by competitive athletes, you've got to try to win the game and do your best to win the game. And Shelton, like I said, if he's a good person, he's trying to win the game because no one's going to be throwing their players under the bus to try to sabotage them so that they can lose a game and tank. Mm-hmm. Nobody out there, Josh Bell doesn't care about next year's draft position, right? Nick Birdie doesn't care about next year's draft position. None of these guys care about next year's draft position. The only people who care about next year's draft position are the fans and the front office. No one else cares. Derek Shelton shouldn't care, honestly. So none of these people should care. And I just want to harp on that there's some fans out there saying, don't get mad at Shelton, we're tanking.
Right.
Shelton's not tanking. That's not what managers do. Managers are in there to put their players in the best position where they can succeed during a game. And he's not doing that right now. So I'm willing to give him more time. I was probably a little bit critical of him after that first Twins game.
But it was well warranted. And of course, it's always instant reaction to that stuff. You're in the moment, so the heat's there. But I can't say anything that you said wasn't true. And those shouldn't be addressed or questioned at this time.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where he's just not pulling the right strings, right? Like he's not bringing in the right people. He's not calling on the right pinch hitters. He's this extra innings, whatever we've been doing in these extra inning games has been just terrible.
And there's been a lot of them.
we've had what, maybe 5 innings where we've started with a runner on second base. It's been at least 4, and I'm pretty sure the runner got out every time. Like it's not even that he's being stranded. Like he just gets out somehow.
I think most famously Jacob Stallings at home.
Like it's like, what are we doing? Like, what is our strategy? Do we have a strategy, and what is it? So I just haven't been impressed. 11 games in, haven't been impressed. If this is him, then I mean, I tweeted it out the other day. It was like, if this is him, then I don't want this guy anywhere near a team that's capable of being competitive.
Yeah.
Like I said, hopefully he can get a little better and kind of find his bearings a little bit, because I do like him. He like I said, he seems like a nice guy. Players like him. He's got a good personality. Like the thing he's doing with the charities after games, like that's all cool. I like that. He just needs to be a better in-game manager, and right now he just hasn't shown it.
You're absolutely right, man. And so, like I said, I think there's a way I can tie this in with Adam Frazier and such. The one of the things that I really enjoyed with his hire, just hearing the guy. I mean, he didn't step foot into PNC Park and even Pittsburgh yet, I feel. But just hearing him, the interview and stuff like that, the stuff he talked about was bringing fun into the game, but also accountability. And I think those are 2 very, very important things for a manager. Because as I mentioned yesterday, and you hit it, like his in-game stuff, maybe I can get your take on this too, Jim. I don't feel there's too many managers out there in baseball that are known and being good for in-game managing. I mean, when I think about that, top of the list I feel is Terry Francona. That's my go-to. You want to talk about a really good, strategy, in-game manager like Terry Francona, that's the dude. He proved it, in the World Series, because Joe Madden basically almost lost the Cubs at World Series by his managing, right? The guy who's touted as one of the best managers in baseball. I feel like in-game managing just isn't there for most managers. So, like, being that guy that can get the best out of his players, that can get the guys rallied, stuff like that, the personal manager is really strong and important, which also Joe Madden is that also. So it seemed like that's what Shelton could bring. But just watching this team, now, of course, the decisions, like you mentioned, are just terrible. But, like, just watching this team, none of them really seem to be in the game. Like, do you feel that way a bit? Like, there's a lot of dumb plays out there. Even yesterday, when Gerard Dyson just like bobbles the ball in the outfield. I mean, he brought this guy in for defense. Like, you're just seeing so many plays. Take away Jacob Stallings, like he's the exception to this right now defensively. I mean, I was like, these guys just don't seem like they're in it. So it's like, we know he's bringing the fun. The guys rally around him. They like him. But is it just one big happy family? And there's not accountability behind the scenes? I don't know. I'm questioning it. I'm not saying he's not, but I question it because of things I see. And again, like with Adam Frazier, with that tag, what are you doing? So, yes, you talk about the manager side. Now, I'm hoping that there's also accountability on this team. And they're not just all having fun behind the scenes.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think anybody's having fun going 2-9. Like,
well, that's a good point.
I can't imagine anybody's having too much fun right now. It's not too fun when you're striking out 13 times a game. It's not fun when you've lost 6 games in a row, which 6 games in a row in a 60-game season, by the way.
Oof.
This equates to had we lost 16 games in a row during a normal season. No, like you said, I agree. So I think there's different ways to kind of view accountability on a baseball team, right? Like, you can just like bench a player, right? But then at the same time, is that always the best thing for the team? Like if somebody just makes a boneheaded decision because they're out of it, their head's not in the right space, is it best for the team to, sit somebody who is better than another player? I don't really know. And that's why I'm not a manager, right? That's their decision. It's going to depend on the player, I think, on what's going to make them kind of tick. That's one of the skills that they need to possess is, hey, what strings can I pull on this particular person to get the best out of them, right?
Right. Right.
And yeah, like you mentioned, there's been a lot of base running things that have been bad. Players getting picked off, players getting thrown out on the bases. I mean, some of that you can put on the coaches, right? Maybe they're sending players when they shouldn't.
Right.
I also, at the same time, I tend to lean more towards. I'm not really a guy I'm like you got to steal every base. But when it comes to base running and taking extra bases, I'm all for that. Like I'm all for being super aggressive on the base paths, like when the ball's in play. I like that. I appreciate that. I think it puts a lot of pressure on the defense to make a play, and a lot of times they're not capable of doing that. So I'm fine when players get thrown out at home by 10 feet. Like I know it sucks in the moment, and I'll be like, "What was he doing there?" But more often than not, that throw is going to be 4 feet off the plate, and you score. So I'm cool with the aggressiveness on the base paths. What I'm not cool with is, getting picked off, by Yadier Molina, how he does it every single series against us, where there's a pitch off the plate and he just snap throws it to first, and boom, somebody's out.
Right.
And like you said, just kind of not having your head in the right place and not throwing to the right bases, like that I can get. I don't really know the best way to hold each individual accountable. Like, do you bench Josh Bell for he's clearly struggling at the plate. I don't know what he's doing up there. I'm sure he's trying, right? Do you bench Frazier? Like, do you bench Dyson? Do you bench Heredia for throwing to the wrong base when, there's a runner on first and he's throwing home, allow him to go to second? I don't know what the best decision is there, because if you bench the guys who are playing right now, the guys that you put in are worse. It's like what do you do there? I don't know. That's a tough question. But to go back to the fun thing, they're probably not having fun. The accountability, each person's got to be held accountable for what they do in their own specific way. I don't really have an answer for that as far as what's going to be the best way to do that. Gotcha.
Understand. And then maybe take a step back here, because I'm with you. I don't think they're truly having fun. When I bring that up is like the overall perception and mentality of the manager and stuff, like what we want to bring, But you make a good point, because you just said they're probably not having fun. They're 2-9. So let's bring this back to the tank, right? This is why players and managers aren't part of the tank. The tanking comes from the GM level and higher, right? Like you mentioned, on the field there's no tank, because what players you mentioned is going to buy into that? Like, they're not having fun being 2-9 right now. They don't want to do that. Like, every player wants to win. You know why? Because winning is fun. Winning's enjoyable. When you win, you appreciate, you like what you did. When you lose, you're pissed off. You're looking back at the tape. What am I doing wrong? And it's just not fun. And these guys are fighting for contracts for next year, for spots next year. If this is a valuation year, what are you evaluating if you're tanking? Right? I mean, if Ponce's trying to make the club and trying to be future, intentions on this team, what is he proving and showing what he can do if he's, air quotes, tanking? So that's why, it's not happening on the level of this team on the field. And with that being said, kind of to piggyback what I mentioned yesterday as well. Oh, damn, what was I just going to say? I forget.
Frazier?
No.
No.
It might hit me here in a second. Now I've lost my whole train of thought. I don't know. Pick up, Jim.
No, you're absolutely right. Like I said, there is tanking. Tanking exists, but it's not on a micro level. It's on a macro level. And we talked about this a little bit before. Like, at this point, let's kind of talk about that. Like, if we want to go into full tank mode now, why play Guillermo Heredia? Why play Gerard Dyson? Why play those guys who have absolutely nothing to do with your future? Like, if we're going to tank and we're going to tank right, call up the guys who could potentially be a part of this future and just throw them out there and see what they do. So, you mentioned, and I think we were a little bit on different pages here, but like somebody like Jared Oliva. I know he hasn't played AAA ball, but he's 24 years old. Who cares about starting his clock? Like, who cares? He's going to be, if you call him up now, you still control him through age 30. He doesn't become a free agent until 31. So it's not like, who cares about the clock on him? Call him up. Just throw him out there. Like, who would you rather watch? If the team's going to suck, who would you rather watch? Guillermo Heredia and Gerard Dyson? Or would you rather watch Jared Oliva out there and just seeing what he can do? So I'm all for, like, if that's this organization's strategy right now, then let's do that. Let's put in the guys who are over in that Altoona camp, who the service time issue is not going to be a big deal, right? I'm not saying let's not call up Quinn Priester at age 19 and start his clock. Like, I'm not saying that, but like the guys who are already past that point where like the service time matters, call them up, put them in there. Like Oliva, put him in there. Like I'm even Hayes to this point. Brian Hayes is 23 years old, going on 24. If you call him up now, you still have him through, until he's 30, right? So you have him through his entire prime. Like the service time issue is not a thing with Brian Hayes anymore. Call these guys up, throw them out there. Like I said, if we're going to suck, let's suck with guys who could potentially be a part of our future and just give them some playing time, and let them see major league pitching, let them be on a major league club, let them learn how to be a major league ball player. That's how you tank, right? You don't, I don't care about Guillermo Heredia or Gerard Dyson or really Phillip Evans to an extent. Like, I'm fine with. Like,
come on, Jim! It's like Phillip Evans. He's an MVP candidate.
So, I mean, he's off to a great start, but like Phillip Evans is not a part of this team's future. So let's just. That's what I want to see. If we're gonna suck, let's suck with the guys who could potentially be a part of this team. And just see what they can do. So that's my take on it.
No, I don't hate that at all. Like you mentioned, we were talking about it. Maybe on some players we disagree on a little bit. But like the Jared Oliva, that makes a lot of sense. I will admit, I did not realize he was 24 years old when we were talking about yesterday. About to be 25 in just a few months in November. So you're right there. For one, he is older. So it's not like he needs to truly experiment. I mean, this guy's gone through a lot of baseball in his career so far, right? And then on top of that, it's not like he's a top prospect. I mean, he's number 10 rated wise at MLB. And I'm with you there too. Like your prized possession, like a Garrett Cole, right? You want him for a long time. You're probably going to wait till he's ready, so that way you can maximize his time here. But also, like you mentioned, he's probably come up at age 22 or 23. So how do we get him here till age 30? Well, why waste it right now? But with Oliva, there's two things. So, yeah, he is a little bit older. Therefore, he's going to be here, like you mentioned, till age 30, if you brought him up now. But on top of that as well, why are you worried about service time? Money, right? Is Jared Oliva that type of prospect? I mean, hopefully he is. But the likelihood is he's that type of prospect that you're not going to be able to afford. Like, are you looking like, well, we got to wait because we need to be able to afford him into age 30, 31 to give him some contract with options, right? To keep him like the Starling Marte. He's probably not that player. He'll probably be able to sign if you want him to the Pirates again at age 30 when his contract's up at age 31. So, I'm with you there. Like those type of prospects I'm cool with. And on top of that, it makes sense because there is no minor league season this year, Jim. So like where is Oliva getting his reps at? Maybe it is at a major league club. And so, therefore, are you really losing much by not having Heredia out there? So, what I want to get into as well with the Heredia and Dyson, as I misspoke and said Lorenzo Kane yesterday on the show, I realized. There was reasons why Charrington, you felt like they brought in like the Melees and the Dysons. It was because of defense. There's one thing that they focused on this year was defense. What's the defense going to do? Help out the pitching. You have a new pitching coach, not a great but better defense behind you, and the pitchers can get better. As you mentioned earlier, you put them in better situations. Well, that's not happening. Jared Dyson isn't looking that great out there. We saw him misplay the ball yesterday. Heredia had some mishaps. I mean, what was that throw he had the other day? He released it, and you want to talk about launch angle. I mean, he had a perfect barrel on that throw, I felt.
Yeah, that throw was crazy.
Oh, my God. So it's like if they're not doing what you brought them in here for, and you are 2-9, yeah, I don't disagree. I would not hate a Jared Oliva up here. Still with like Brian Hayes, I'm torn. And also because Colin Moran is producing. If it takes, for the people listening that will hate me on this, if it takes Jose Ozuna out, I'm cool with it. But, hey, Moran is producing. I'm enjoying it. And if you're talking about, accountability, you can't not reward Colin Moran for the start he's had and say, well, we're bringing up Brian Hayes right now. So I'm still on board keeping him down. It's kind of a wasted year. Keep him down this year. Bring him up next year. Start the clock. But an Oliva, let's do it.
Yeah, so I agree. I'm fine with either way with Hayes, but I would like to see him. Like I said, if we're going to suck, let's at least do it with some players that I want to watch. Like right now, I don't care to watch half of these guys. This team is not fun to watch. Like I put the game on, and it's just I suffer through 9 innings, sometimes 10 or 11. But it's one of those things. And yeah, Moran's producing, but you can get him in the lineup other ways. I think. Put him at first, put him at DH. I'm fine with that. But yeah, I want to see Hayes. I want to see Oliva. Heck, call up Will Craig. Use him as a bench bat. I don't care. Like I said, I don't think he has a future with the team, but let him prove it. Like, bring him up and just see what happens.
No, that's a fair point too with the Will Craig. It's not like I'm excited to see Will Craig as well, but I've seen Ozuna. I know what Ozuna is. It's not like he's had a tremendous amount of plate appearances every single year, but I feel like I've seen enough of him. I would rather see the unseen, and I think that's what it is. It's not that I'm saying Will Craig is better than Ozuna. He could be worse, but I've seen Ozuna. I haven't seen Craig. Let's just see it. Prove, like you said, prove yourself. What are you?
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, anything else you want to get off your chest?
I think that's good for today, DiNardo.
All right.
We'll have more to talk about tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll have more to talk about, I'm sure.
Yep. Cool. All right. Well, with that said, yeah, we'll be back again tomorrow, 9 p.m. for NS9 Live. Tomorrow is a day game once again with the Twins, so it won't be right after the baseball game. So, yeah, we'll be live right at 9 o'clock, and then we'll see y'all later. So, with that said, bye-bye.
Later.